Yes, it has, Mr. McEnroe.
Everybody please stand and join me for the pledge. This is the month that we celebrate Veterans Day. So let's say the pledge real loud. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Roll call.
Mrs. Backo?
Here.
Mr. Bichada?
Here.
Mr. Syak?
Here.
Mr. Clark? Mrs. Esposito?
Here.
Mr. Lembo?
Here.
Mrs. Stratton?
Here.
Mrs. Pratt?
Here.
And Mr. McEnroe.
President. Dr. Alfano, we have a couple of presentations.
Mr. Gotanovich, would you please come up? Mr. President, and Mike Provenza, is he here? I'm assuming he is. Mike, I'll be right up with you.
Yes, please.
About a little over 5 years ago, Mike Provenza started as a tennis coach here at Sayreville. He's not only our girls coach, but also our boys. So for the last 5 years, he's not only led the team, but has built a program. And last month, the tennis coaches of the Greater Middlesex Conference voted him not only the White Division Coach of the Year, but as a collective Greater Middlesex Conference Coach of the Year. Mike's accolades include sportsmanship winners throughout his 5 years, so the team accolades are there. This is the first time that we can all publicly give Mike a pat on the back. Congratulations for the Greater Middlesex Conference Girls Tennis Coach of the Year.
I just would like to say one thing. I hired Mike, so I know I did a good job. Mr. McEnroe, would you please present the award?
So we have a certificate that's presented to you for demonstration of excellence as an athletic coach in the Sayreville Public Schools. And that we proudly recognize and acknowledge your role in educating today's learners to be tomorrow's leaders. Something that I'm very well aware of is that we have an exceptional athletic program here in Sayreville, and 3 of my daughters have benefited from that. And if you look up the word coach in a dictionary, it's more than just teaching a sport. It's a mentor, it's set an example, it's a leader. And we appreciate all you do, and as a coach, identified as Coach of the Year, you reached the top of your game, so to speak. So on behalf of the Board of Education, we're very proud, and thank you.
Good job, Mike. Mr. DeAndrea, would you like to introduce or which one would we like to do next? What's the other presentation?
The 40th anniversary.
We'll do the 40th anniversary next for the Eisenhower. The audit can wait. They're not really that excited, Andrew, to hear you speak about the audit. Mr. Skoronsky, Ms. Bloom, you're on. Everybody's coming up. PTO did a beautiful job at the 40th anniversary. We appreciate it. Ms. Bloom, would you like the microphone? I've really given it up.
I'm glad I'm not getting to follow the audit. I figured everybody would be asleep by then. Good evening, everyone. As you all know, Eisenhower had their 40th anniversary celebration a few weeks back, and unfortunately our plaque did not arrive on time. I would like to thank Marlene Lewandowski, who is our Pride Committee Chair, and someone mentioned to me that when we say Pride Committee, I really should clarify, because some people think it's gay pride, but it's not. And that would be fine. But this is Pride in Public Education, okay? So we need to clarify that our Pride Committee is Pride in Public Education, and the plaque states, proud of our great public schools, in recognition and presented to Eisenhower Elementary School, in grateful recognition of your outstanding contributions and dedication from the Sayreville Education Association. So I would like to present this to Mr. Skoronsky. He is the keeper of the keys right now, but this is for everyone who came before and for everyone who will come after, teachers, staff, and students that have had a wonderful experience in the Eisenhower Elementary School. And I'm going to let him introduce his PTO officers.
Thank you, Lucy. Thank you very much. I would like to introduce the president of our PTO, Mrs. Chella, and also our treasurer, Mrs. Mira. And I would like to thank the SEA for this very nice plaque in recognition. Thank you. We'll put it in a place of honor. very much. On with the show, Andrew Parenti from Lurch, Vinci, and Higgins will do the synopsis of the audit report in 2 minutes or less.
Let me say that if you do put us to sleep, I will consider that to be a good thing because you found nothing alarming.
You won't be the first put to sleep. Okay, you all should have received 2 reports. The larger of the 2 reports is your comprehensive annual financial statement. That's your CAFR, and then you have a second report, which is your management report, and any findings and recommendations would be included in that. As far as your CAFR is concerned, there's 5 sections. You have an introduction, which is prepared by the administration. It's a brief description of the district. The second section is your MD&A, which is the management discussion and analysis. That is a narrative of your financial statements. The next section would be your financial section, which would include an auditor's opinion, footnotes to financial statements, and financial statements. There's a statistical section, which is miscellaneous statistics of the municipality and the board. And then the final section is a single audit section, and that is basically your federal and state grants. As I mentioned, there's an auditor's opinion. The Sayreville opinion this year is an unqualified opinion. That's the best opinion you can get. What it means is that your financial statements are fairly stated and free of material misstatement. Okay. In the CAFR, okay, the most important exhibit would be your C1 exhibit. That's your it's on a budgetary basis, and that is, it begins on page 50, and that is the budget that was adopted by the voters last April. And it includes your original budget, your modified budget, and then your actual revenues and expenditures. At the bottom of the C1, you have a total fund balance. The district ended with a total fund balance of approximately $4.9 million at June 30th, 2009. Now, there are several components of that. The first component is, major component is your reserve for encumbrances, which was approximately $688,000, and those represent orders that were placed prior to June 30th, 2009 that won't be paid until the 9-10 school year. The second major component is excess surplus. You have approximately $326,000 of excess surplus at June 30th. What that represents is the excess of your budgetary expenses greater than 2%. That number will have to be appropriated and included in your 2010-11 budget when you develop that this coming up spring. The next component is what was designated as fund balance in the 9-10 school year, and you guys designated $2 million of your surplus to the 9-10 budget. That's the year we're in. And then the final piece is your unreserved, your undesignated piece, which is $1.9 million. That's 2% of your budgetary expenditures, which is the maximum that you're allowed. As far as findings are concerned, we had 3. The first one was that the district eliminate the deficit in the debt service fund. The second finding was that athletic event stipends paid through the athletic account for ticket takers, timekeepers, that those payments be processed through payroll. And then the final recommendation was that money that's collected by the adult school be deposited in a timely manner. That concludes my presentation. If there's any questions.
Mrs. Becker.
On one of these reports, it says, when you went through the treasurer's records were in agreement with the records of the board secretary except for the capital project fund. Do you know what the discrepancy was with the capital project fund?
What page is the synopsis?
It's page 3 on the report.
That may be a typo. That's something that we're probably going to have to correct because they were in agreement.
Can we get an amended copy?
Oh, absolutely.
Mr. Andrews, you agree with that?
Do we, may I ask a question, please?
Yes, go ahead, Mr. Chavez.
On the suggestions that you have here, student body activities, athletic account, activity. If I'm correct, you're saying that the ticket takers, the referees, and all that should go through payroll.
Right.
And according to this, you want that recorded as taxable income with, instead of normally I understand what, see, I brought this up last year. This is what, because I was on the finance committee. I brought this up last year, that all of these activities should be going through our payroll and that they should be taxable because you're using taxpayers' money. And last year, the audit told me that no, they can still do that because something about $600. If you're over $600, then you get a 1099 form. But if you're under $600, it's just they get a check and then they do whatever they want. But you're saying this year, what I said last year, this money should be accounted for. Why did we wait a year to have this?
If I could, Andrew, part of it, you have to, and the conversation we had with the auditor at closing, what they're recommended is part of the people who are taking tickets are also employed. So it's those individuals that they're saying should be all-inclusive through the payroll system. There may be individuals who are not employed in the district that are ticket takers, and they'll still be receiving a 1099 if they're all over 600. So you have to separate the two. There are people who are currently employed who do certain functions of that nature. That's where they're saying those should go through the payroll because they're employed in the district. Other individuals are not, so we're going to be issuing them 1099s if they go over 600.
So what did you do in the past for the employees if
They were getting 1099s.
for anything under 600?
Anything over 600,
Over 600.
yeah. So now this is saying if you're employed in the district, no matter what function you perform in the district, it must go through payroll.
Is this something new or is this something you just caught this year?
This is something we picked up this year through, when we audited the disbursements from the athletic fund, we saw these specific disbursements. That's why it's included in this year's audit.
The question, basic question, Mr. Andrews, if the checks are not being cut through payroll, then who's cutting the check?
There is a separate athletic account that the board approves at every monthly meeting.
Who cuts the check?
Mr. Kotanich and I signed.
And the funds in that account are not only provided by the district, but those are revenue from the
Gate receipts and things of that nature, yes.
So what are we going to do different then, I guess, in the future?
What it is that if you're employed in the district, they'll send an invoice to process it through the payroll.
We're not talking about a lot of people.
I don't believe so.
And this is just not unique to football, we're talking about basketball games.
Basketball, crowd control, timers, right. Well, not referees, no.
Referees aren't just football.
Can we get that clarified in the report? Because when I read it the same way Mrs. Bacco read it, which was everyone who works, it needs to be processed through payroll. And that's
I can
not
clarify.
what you're now telling. Can we get that clarified in the
Well, that would be in the
report?
corrective action plan. Your corrective action plan will include current employees then.
And is that what, that's not what it says now?
No.
Yeah, if we can correct that. And then in terms of adopting, since there is a possible correction to this, do we adopt this tonight, or do we have to wait until?
I don't believe there's nothing significant with the word.
Okay.
As long as we make that part of the resolution and accept it, then we get the amended report, because that's a significant difference.
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
In terms of the capital fund piece, whether or not the capital fund with the
Yeah,
treasurer.
but that's what I'm saying, it's wording in a narrative, it's not material.
Right.
Well, he says something is not agreeable, but he said it is, so that's a big difference, isn't it? The wording?
And not to be concerned that, yeah, put it through the mouth.
He gave us a D and now he's giving us an A. I think it should be reported.
Well, we're staying with the A. Nothing has changed. It's your unqualified opinion that's really the thing you're looking for. And you're not going to change that. The one word doesn't change your unqualified opinion.
I like the,
Right.
So we still have.
Is there any harm in adopting this on December 2nd once we have, or first, whenever the meeting is?
No.
Then I'd like to adopt it on the first, once we're sure that the report's matched and we've got an accurate.
And just for clarification, your corrective action already does read, employees receiving athletic stipends will be processed through the payroll system.
But he's talking about the other one.
No, I'm just saying the other,
Okay, so
I agree with him, I'm just clarifying this other
So
piece.
that's
Okay.
all employees?
No.
Or just
Employees,
district people?
employees receiving,
Okay.
so that's why we're worried about it.
And then the ticket takers that are not district employees, they will receive their money.
Only if they
checks from
exceed
JPEG.
$600.
Right, but they'll receive those checks from you and JPEG.
Yeah.
No, that's it.
Okay, good. Mrs. Backus.
Page 33, you have $1,049,051. It's a district deficit in the financial statement. Can you just explain what that million is? That's in the first paragraph.
It deals with the way the state funds.
Right. What happens is the state has now deferred your last two state aid payments, so you don't receive your June state aid until the first week in July. Under GAAP, generally accepted accounting principles, we cannot realize that revenue because the state isn't realizing a liability. Okay, so your last state aid payment was $2.9 million. That's what, so we can't realize that revenue. That's why you have that deficit number there.
Okay, so this deficit is exactly the problem of the timing, this million.
Exactly.
It's the only issue in there.
Right. That's why I mentioned the C1 exhibit, because that's strictly on the budgetary basis of accounting, which includes the month of June state aid in your revenue.
And the last question about the adult school money deposit in a timely manner, what do you consider a timely manner? That made you put this comment in.
It was anywhere from 5 to 6 business days that the money was held. So it was not a material thing. Again, we don't want the money sitting in the desk of the top drawer of someone's desk, and then something silly happening. That's why we put that in that way.
So, based on the other school districts that you audited, how is Sable doing as far as execution and management of our money?
We have excess surplus, $326,000. It's good. And then as far as, so financially, you guys are in good shape. Last year you put $2 million toward your budget, so now you already have $300,000. So now you have to work towards $2 million. And then as far as your financial records, we make minimal journal entries here. We're provided everything we ask for, and as you can see from the recommendations, there's nothing material or major here.
The business administrator is doing a good job.
Yes,
Does he get an A?
he gets it.
You get an A.
Just ask him. Okay, any other questions for the auditor?
I don't know what page this is on, but last year we had one of the findings was relevant to the student activities account, and your findings this year was that everything had been taken care of. Okay, what did we do to fix that problem that you're now satisfied?
You guys, basically, you cleaned up your internal controls regarding those student accounts.
Okay, so how is it run now that makes you happy as compared to the way it wasn't?
Well, now, the disbursements are primarily for student-related disbursements. Last year, there may have been some scholarship monies that was dispersed from the student activity account. This year, when we reviewed your accounts, the disbursements were specifically for the student activities.
Okay, did you go back and if you looked at that account, say at the end of last year when you found this finding, there was a balance in it. Did you go back and look at what was in it and determine what exactly was student activity related versus non-student activity? And if you did, what happens to the difference in the money?
Well, those funds, a calculation was, and a review was completed by the business office, and those non-student related activity account money, that was deposited into the general fund.
And you tracked that?
Yes, we saw that. Yeah, we saw the it just was accounted for as miscellaneous revenue.
I think, Mrs. Bacco, to go along with what you were talking about, I think one of the issues was the accountability of deposits on time, if I remember correctly, and I believe the other issue, one of the issues was 2 signings instead of 1 person signing on for the checks. That way there's better accountability and less likeliness of embezzlement.
Right, and those 2 items were also cleared up.
I have another question, generic question. On page 22, you list our business type activities, and we have a food service fund and an adult fund, and they're maintained completely separate, correct? There's never, in other words, if one's at a loss and one's at a profit, one can't commingle with the other, correct?
No, right. They're 2 different enterprise funds, and they're maintained independently of each other.
Okay, now, since we changed our adult school, with the cafeteria, you have a negative $108,000. Now, is there any, can you keep running at a negative number for any length of time, or can you keep going that way, or is there some sort of big up? Like, I see we have a total net asset of a positive 156. Now, just say we ran at another 100 for this year, or if it was more than 156, what happens if it's more than 156?
Well, then the district would have to think about funding, contributing to the food service fund. If it was at a deficit, it would be a finding, and a deficit would have to be funded.
So if the 156 goes below 0, then we can take the money out of the general fund, per se, and fund the food service fund?
Correct.
And that's okay to do that?
Yes.
If I could, the district's never had to do that, but there is a specific line in your budget development that says deficit, funding deficit for cafeteria service and things of that nature. So there is a line item that you could.
Is that something new we're going to put in this year? or-
Right now, we don't have to, and that's a discussion we're definitely going to be having with the board.
And actually, I believe that we have utilized that in the past before your time.
Okay.
I think that in the early to mid-90s, we were running at a deficit, and then Shelley came on board, and, the team there, they corrected it, and we've been whole ever since.
So the positive number, if that 108 was a positive number, then the 156 would just be a larger number, and that's carried from year to year.
The 108 represents this year's activity.
So is that money sitting, that 156 sitting somewhere separately? What do we do?
In their account.
It's just a paper number.
No, it's in there, basically, their checking account, it's their cash.
So it is a cash number.
All the questions?
I will have that management report fixed, and we'll get you guys new copies, and I do apologize for that.
Thank you, Andrew, enjoy your ride back.
Hey, Chris, and on with the agenda, on the correspondence, everybody should have received the monthly technology work order report, the maintenance work order report, the weekly and monthly construction manager reports. Any questions, comments, deletions, additions to those reports? If not, moving on to the minutes. Everybody should receive the minutes of the regular meeting held on October 20th, 2009. Does anybody have any questions, concerns, deletions, or additions to the minutes? If not, I'll take a motion to follow and accept.
Mr. Mac?
Okay, I got Mr. Lembo and Mr. Sack.
I can't second.
Okay.
Second.
Second.
Just under comments, I need to state in the minutes, I've been on a massive work travel schedule for the last month and a half, but I'm back now.
That means you weren't here for that meeting.
Means I wasn't there for that meeting.
Gotcha. Roll call, please.
Mrs. Baxter? Mr. Bishop?
Yes.
Mr. Syatt?
Abstain?
Mrs. Esposito? Mr. Lembo?
Yes.
Mrs. Stratton?
Yes.
Mrs. Trapp?
Yes.
And Mr. McNeil?
Yes. Next is our student council representative, Ms. Brittany Malicki. What is happening on campus?
Well, last month we raised $470 for UNICEF with the boxes that we handed out from the elementary school and the flower sales. And since November's kind of a short month, we really don't have a lot going on except for canned food collection that we're doing in light of Thanksgiving. And also, this is the start of Teacher Appreciation Week, and this morning is the start of it. So we stuff mailboxes and give out different things to the teachers throughout this whole week.
Teacher Appreciation Week before or after the report cards? Thank you, Mr. Yes, Mr. Bishop.
Brittany? Question for you. They just had a blood drive, if I'm correct here, this past Monday.
Yes, we did.
Okay, how did we do with that? How many pints were donated? question I have, it's students and staff, but I was just wondering, if we do have another opportunity to have a blood drive here at the high school, maybe we can have something in the Circle paper that comes out and let maybe,
I know the Red Cross Club is like in charge of the blood drive, so I can talk to people on the blood drive and have it.
and maybe we could put it on even the web and get some parents involved also, because that's life. Blood is life, that's what they always say. Thank you.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you, Mr. Next, we have parent involvement representative report, and it says, Ms. Helen Bruno Bakuya. You're supposed to sit up here. That's not fair. You don't sit. I'm going to pay you because I know it. Thank you, Ms.
There were 3 parents present at the last PEC meeting on November 9th. Mostly we discussed the H1N1 vaccination program. It was reported that there was not enough vaccine for now, and that's why we did not hold the clinic on Veterans Day. They're hoping that more comes in, and if that changes, we will have 2 vaccinations, one on December 5th, the UES, the elementary schools, and one on December 12th for the high school and middle school students. If children are under 10, they will need a second dose. Most likely that will be administered on January 9th. About 1,200 to 1,500 people signed up for each group. 12 to 1,500. So we had quite a good turnout. Help will be needed with the organization of the schools. Our school nurses will be working the vaccination program and are asking for additional help. The county is supposed to cover the cost of that. Right now, there are no clusters of illnesses in the schools. The schools are disinfecting the handrails, doorknobs, and bathrooms more frequently. At the UES, one student claimed that there was a possible abduction. The child was safe. No one else saw anything from the bus stops. The police were called, parents were notified, and it is being taken very seriously. Arlet was talking about obtaining some new fencing for their playground. There are some special needs students that are flight risks from the playground to Washington Road. So they're discussing putting up some new fencing running across from the school. During recess, this is a problem. One estimate that they received so far was for $7,000. They'd like to double gate it so they can get equipment in and out. And it was stated that there may be some funds available since it was primarily for special education children, the risk of flight. The Bombers were doing really well, and one of our students received full scholarship to Rutgers University. That was a good
Bombers will be playing the semi-final game in Brunswick here at home. So everybody please come out.
Well, hopefully it won't be the final game.
And hopefully the weather, yes, Friday, and hopefully the weather will be better than it was last
yeah.
Friday night. Very good, thank you, Mr. Collier, and if you want to, you could stay there or. Thank you.
Mr. Magno,
Yes.
as a point of clarification, could either Ms. Sutherland or Dr. Albano just comment with regard to the abduction issue, with regard to the credibility of that information? I mean, I'm not suggesting Mrs. Rakuya wasn't credible. I'm just suggesting that at the time she
It's
received that
okay, Kevin.
information.
I'll
Yeah.
get your foot out of your mouth now.
No, but
All right,
you know what I mean.
Not a problem.
I don't want anyone to leave here panicked.
No, there was really, we called it an enticement, not an abduction. And basically, a young man, I believe he was in the 4th grade, reported that someone across the street had enticed him with candy. He immediately ran home, told his father. His father came to the school. We investigated it, and so did the police. And pretty much, we didn't really find anything. We did interview all the students that were there. There was a number of students on that bus stop and parents. So basically, the police investigated it from a perspective of that there was, and quote-unquote, an enticement, but did not, bring it any further than the initial stages of it. So, I haven't heard anything since, which was about a week ago.
When Dr. Alfano notified me of it, my comment to him was that I thought it was very, very well handled and taken care of by the administration and by Mrs. Brady at the UES. It was very well done. So, it just goes to show that our administration in our schools are very well capable for these type of things. So, thank you. There's no attorney's report. We have no attorney here tonight. District highlights, Mr. Lembo.
Congratulations to Sayreville War Memorial High School senior Chris Amott. Chris was reported last school year as having won the PAX whose National Safe Schools Week Poetry Contest with his poem, "With Open Eyes I Realized." This year, his creativity and effort are still being rewarded. The Discovery Channel's Investigation Discovery and the National PTA have decided to use his poem as a basis for their National Public Service announcement. Investigation Discovery has used lines from his winning poem to create the PSA. Tune into the Discovery Channel where you can see for yourself just how talented the students in Sayreville can be. On Sunday, October 25th, the Sayreville War Memorial High School Marching Band and Band Parents Association hosted the United States Scholastic Band Association's New Jersey State Championships for the third consecutive year. Over 7,500 people came to the high school to hear excellent music, enjoy good food, and have an all-around good time. Our marching band placed second out of 21 bands from around the state, while our color guard captured the Best Color Guard Squad Special Award. Congratulations to all of our band members, including drum majors J.R. Mayat, Michael A-Rod Rodriguez, Katie Pentek for her resounding rendition of our national anthem, Eric Bohm, director, Elise Haddasak, color guard coordinator, the entire band staff, and most especially to Jack Mayat, president of the Band Parents Association, and all the parents that helped make this a success. Thanks go out to the Board of Education members, central office personnel, and the district administration for making this happen. A special word of thanks to Emilio DeAndrea, business administrator, Dennis Pantoliano, director of facilities, Sherry Komprowski, assistant supervisor of buildings and grounds, Joe Hosmedorf, secretary to the director of facilities, Randy Litz, and Sean Carroll, maintenance, Doug Zink from grounds, and finally custodians Vic Narkowitz and Stanley Wilkowski and Chris Proudman. Without these people, this undertaking could not have happened. Congratulations also to Michael Provenza, as we saw, girls tennis coach, for being selected as both White Division Coach of the Year and Greater Middlesex County Girls Tennis Coach of the Year. 100 wins. Coach Nick Cifelli, boys soccer coach, recorded his 100th win this season. Congratulations to the boys soccer team, along with Coach Cifelli, for reaching this milestone. And to think they just do this for kicks. On October 26th, Sayreville War Memorial High School senior Kenny Easy scored his 100th career goal at Sayreville. He is the first Sayreville soccer player to reach this milestone. Kenny scored 16 goals as a freshman, 32 as a sophomore, 24 as a junior, and 29 this year to date, for a total of 101 goals. Way to go, Kenny. You make us all very proud. That concludes our highlights, Mr. President.
Thank you, Mr. Vice President. Dr. Mafano, can you please take us through your superintendent's report?
Thank you, Mr. President. Buildings and grounds, there's one request at the Sam Sullivan Elementary School for the Girl Scouts. Any questions with section 1? With none, moving to finance. Letters A through L are regular resolutions.
Dr. Raffano, we have a correction to item number C.
Go ahead.
Item number C was amended. It's on
Yes,
the-
I'm sorry, C is amended.
I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
To $2,941,476.24.
That's on the addendum.
Yes.
Sorry. Letter M is a donation. N is a disposal. And O is a carryover of 10,006. P, there was a correction on P. It's supposed to be psychiatric evaluations, not psychologists. And there's a service that we run through the special education department. Q is a special program that we run for our students that are excelling in marine technology, and that's the MASS program. Morris Knolls is another for exceptional students at the Morris Knolls High School. The M1 form, Mr. DeAndrew, would you just comment a little bit on that M1 form?
The M1 form used to be a part of the QAR in the prior years. It's now still required to be submitted on a yearly basis. and just basically reflects what your maintenance budget was and what you're anticipating for the future years.
Thank you, Mr. DeAndre. Okay, D is the use of the facility, the pool at the new Middlesex Regional Education Commission School, the Center for Lifelong Learning. It's an $80 per hour, which is much cheaper than we used to get. So,
I have a question there.
you may.
That's for the use of our swim team?
Yes. I know what you're saying, and we negotiated the best deal we could.
What were we paying, we were at Bay Shore before that.
Bay Shore was
I
more
believe it
expensive.
was 120 an hour.
I was going to say 120, 125.
I specifically asked that question when they became the planning board before they ever built that school.
And what was that question?
The question was, since it's in Sayreville, will our swim team be able to use the facility free of charge?
I didn't think they heard the last three words that you asked, free of charge.
I have a question. No, they heard. And this has been discussed many times, and I know I've spoken to Emilio about it. He keeps wondering where the free pool is, and he keeps saying that, but this
In his
came
backyard.
No, this came from a council meeting, and somebody had asked, I remember we discussed this once before, somebody went up to the microphone and asked, and I was sitting there, and the mayor said it was free. So I did ask again last night at the council meeting what happened to our free pool. I'm not so sure I'm happy with the answer I got. The answer I got was, well, it can't be free because it's a government entity and they can't give it to you for free. Right, that would be my take. So is this a legal problem, or, I mean, $80 is not cheap.
Just so that you know, I had an extensive conversation with the business administrator. My response was exactly what you're saying.
And
I
what's the
said,
answer?
I thought, quote unquote, this was supposed to be a free service. He went into a litany of reasons why it cannot be, because the upkeep is tremendous on that pool, and with our students using it, we're giving you the best deal that you possibly can give you.
I guess
And-
What is
And my,
anyone else?
look, our swim team is going to start relatively soon. Starting
It started
yesterday.
already.
So real soon. So the problem with us holding this process up, and I'm not saying anybody is going to, is they need to use the facility, and it is much cheaper, and obviously transportation-wise, it's right around the corner. I did have an extensive conversation with Pat Moran. I did have a conversation with the superintendent. I can tell you, it was $100 on the video, and I started talking. We got it down to $80. Not that that's any great consolation, but I will tell you, we said exactly what you said. It's $80. That's basically the final. I mean, let's face it.
Let's say the check was slow to get there. What would they do? They
Open the door.
Yeah, well, they would be slow to open the door.
I'm going to check the resolution.
Our coach has a key.
I'm going to check the resolution from the planning board because I remember specifically asking that question. Upkeep of a pool.
Look, Mr. McEnroe, I had the same exact response. I can only tell you this is what we negotiated in the sense that there was no more room as far as they were concerned. Now, Mr. DeAndrea and myself will certainly give a phone call to the illustrious Mr. Moran in the morning and basically tell him that we're displeased. And certainly they could keep it at 80, they can make it 70, they can make it $1. I can't predict what they're going to do, but one thing is for sure, we have to leave this in there so that our youngsters can use the pool.
But I think we need to send them a letter. And I think I need to sign it because I'm the one who asked that question.
If you want to send a letter, I have no problem doing that either.
And if I could,
I don't get it.
I know one of the, and I expressed hearing it, and as Mrs. Backel said, she's asked me, I would not have any of those meetings, so that's why I'm not aware of it. And I think that's the same answer you'll get from Mr. Moran, is that there may have been, if there was a commitment, not saying there wasn't, it's not something that's been conveyed back to him as the business administrator of that school district. And again, he's the one that put together the charges and the fees for everything that's going on. So it may have been a statement as an answer to a question, but as far as he's concerned, everything, there's a price for everything, and he feels $80 is a reasonable rate, considering what's happened.
But if Mike and the planning board didn't give approval for it, which they have the right to, there would be no pool. So
Again, we go round and round.
Well,
You can't just, you can't.
Then we'd be paying 120 somewhere else.
Right, well, I understand that this is probably less expensive, but this is like a bigger issue than just this year. This is a school that was built in the community, and the community was under the impression we were going to get a benefit from it and it's not even just the high school students, it's also the brain injured children were supposed to be able to use it for free.
Well,
Now,
I think they are.
Those children are going to.
I think that
So
is.
if they're going to use it for free, then the idea that the government has to charge because it's a government entity just went right out the window.
He never used that as a rationale.
No.
It's more or
The
less
big
like
children have
anything
a better
else.
mediator, and a better negotiator than I guess Emilio and I. I'm not sure.
I can tell you, the bottom line, and Ms. Duffy knows, every service that the Ed Services Commission provides, you pay. They're an entity, I hate to say they're almost a nonprofit, basically they are.
Time to pay the. I think we go pay the. Okay.
Can I ask another question
Certainly.
on that? Are we going to hold meets there? Like, are we going to?
You can.
Right now, the pool can accommodate meets. They have an official scoreboard, control timing.
They have underwater timers?
Underwater timers, and from what I understand from the meeting there last week, Mr. Kotanich and I went there to visit the site, make sure what we were getting. They did agree that if we wanted to run home meets, we have the facility. And right now, we have almost the rights to the pool above anybody else. Because I do know there are other school districts that are now interested.
Oh, we better.
They're closer. Well, no, other school districts will also.
Mrs. Backer, what was the response from the council?
That was, well, I had asked the mayor, because he was the one that said it in the
Right.
first place. He
Right.
said that, and I got the impression it was a legal thing, which is why I want to bring it back here, that they have to charge us because they can't give it to us for free, which sort of goes out the window if they're not charging Vic.
Well, we don't know that to be true. I don't know. My assumption is they probably.
Yeah, so they could charge us $1, I guess, that would probably.
I mean, they can charge Vic $1.
I mean, this was just something the community had always thought was going to occur, because that's the same thing with
Basically,
using the pool.
what Mr. DeAndrea and I will do is we will certainly make a phone call tomorrow morning and just show Mr. Moran that the board is very displeased. And
Do you have a cost, what the season's going to cost of $80 an hour? Do you have an
we
idea?
had about, what, $3,000?
No, it's going to be more than that because being that it's closer, I believe Mr. Kotanich and the swimming coach have asked for more time. I believe it's going to be closer to $6,000 to $8,000.
Yeah, it was in the budget.
They're not supposed to make a profit on this.
That's right.
It's a county.
According to Mr. Moran, he's not making a profit. That's
You know
what
what's
he's
more,
doing.
read 6,000?
He's covering his costs to maintain the pool. I've heard that 8 times.
We'll bring a bucket of
What
chlorine
about,
every time
does
we
this
go.
include the lifeguards too?
Unfortunately, it can't. It's a green building.
Does this include the cost of the lifeguards?
What does that have to do with the green building, the
No,
lifeguard?
he's answering the chlorine question.
No, the $80.
Oh,
No, our coach is certified, so they're not required to have
It's a
a
swim
lifeguard.
team, they don't need lifeguard.
All right, so there's.
I mean, I could see a minimum fee if they have snowing or something.
To be, if you're in the pool, you have to have a certified lifeguard by the pool.
Mr. Lembo and I will take care of it.
Mr. DeAndrea is that certified lifeguard.
I go to do it.
All right, we will get back to you on that.
Okay, so we're approving this tonight then?
You have to, or else we're not
We
able to
place it
support.
in practice and then.
Yeah, we'll approve it, but we'll work on it.
Well, with the assumption, we can always amend it, with the assumption that.
Tell Mr. Finkelstein, I'll see him tomorrow night as well.
Okay, you tell Mr. Finkelstein. Okay, BWXYZ are all change orders in the amount of approximately $32,000. AA is the annual report that Andrew just,
We're withdrawing A and B at this point.
we're withdrawing A and B, and then we're going to put it in for December?
Yes.
AA and double B.
That was the order.
Okay, that was the audit. Okay, C, C, and DD are both on your addendum. One is for Seton Hall using their services for a clinical educational program. And he did, I have to thank Mr. Andrea putting together a good cooperative program to help us with our phone system, which has been costing us a small fortune. So hopefully this will really set back some of the cost of the phone situation. Now, Mr. DeAndrea, you're going to add a resolution on this?
Item EE, which the board discussed in executive this evening. The Board of Education is requested to approve change order number 69 to Sean Ray Construction Company Incorporated in the amount of $225,000 for settlement of delay claims for the Sayable War Memorial High School renovation and addition.
Mr. Sayak, as Chairman of the Construction Oversight Committee, would you just like to explain to the public what that is?
Yeah, the board has been discussing for some time now in executive session as part of negotiations with Sean Ray, which is the individual that's building this particular high school construction project, settlement of the delay claims, because as we had indicated, the project was initially supposed to be done by September 1st, and it's extending now until March 1st, the end of February. And associated with that extension is the time and the services that Sean Ray, the builder, is incurring in order to build the project. They are not responsible for those particular delays. As we've indicated before, there are other parties that are responsible. So as a result, we need to compensate them in some way for the additional time it's requiring to build this facility. We have been, and if you recall, we initially went out for referendum, we were looking at estimated delay claim costs totaling approximately 7 figures. You know, we were looking at close to $1 million. We have managed to negotiate with Sean Ray and get a complete negotiated delay claim settlement down to the $225,000 that we're approving tonight. That basically is it's 4 payments, 4 even equal payments totaling $225,000, and that will absolve the board from any type of liability with Sean Ray for any type of delay claims. They are promising to have the building done by March 1st. If anything else comes up in terms of delays, they will not charge the board. If they exceed the March 1st deadline, they will reimburse the board $1,000 a day. And the only other thing that the board would be responsible for with regard to Sean Ray is if there are any other unforeseen circumstances in terms of material. For example, if we're doing the construction in the left-hand side of the A-wing and we hit asbestos that's unforeseen, we would have to pay for the asbestos removal. But other than that, all of the delay claims are settled. They cannot come back against us for any further litigation. And the board feels confident that this particular deal is in the best interest of the board because it absolves us of a much greater risk should we have to litigate this and basically defend ourselves in terms of the delay claims that are possible. And that doesn't preclude any litigation that we may have against any other parties in terms of recouping any costs.
Thank you, Mr. Sayak.
Any other questions, comments in section 2?
I have a question.
Mr. Brashad.
Mr. DeAndrea, under N, page 2, the Rockwell lathe, the Rockwell milling machine, the Rockwell grinder. These do have value even if they're only for parts. Are these going to go out for bid to the public? Or are they just going to wind up scrap, no value?
Unfortunately, Mr. Bashar, I wouldn't even be able to answer that question. I have no idea of what value they are. They're requesting to dispose of them, so I wouldn't even know what they are.
See, the reason I ask, because they do have some monetary value for someone that does have this lathe. I think it would be a wise suggestion to see what the value of this lathe is, and then if we have to have it go out for a bid, along with the Rockwell milling machine and the Rockwell grinder, because even if they're only for parts, I'd rather see them go out for bid than wind up in somebody's basement or garage.
What I can do is, since they're up for disposal, I can put a quick ad in the paper and let it be known what we have and see if anybody's willing to purchase. What else?
They're industrial machines.
Mr. Brashad, so you want to make a motion to...
I make a motion that we...
Right. Well, I need to, I still need to have them disposed of.
Can we have it requested to approve the disposal and bid, or how about the bid for sale, post for sale? I've also got a question on the finance. On the addendum, you indicated that the operating account bills list had gone up.
Yes.
I didn't see a listing of what was
Sean
added.
Ray. It was one check for Sean Ray. I received their bill
Okay.
after the bill list was on.
Got it. That's pretty good. Okay.
One check.
Any other questions? With none, moving on. Now, let me just get my page here. Page 5, Section 3, personnel not certified. Unpaid personal leave, there is a change for to be, which is an employment. Please amend start date to Thursday, November 19th for Kathleen. Okay, and then we have another employment and a few professional development days. E is a list of substitutes, and there is an addendum, an additional person. Beth Ann Motley is also added to the list of substitutes. There's also another addition. F is a 10-day suspension of a custodian from the 3 to 11 shift at the Sayreville Middle School. Any questions on Section 4? With none, moving to, Section 3, moving to 4, certified. There's a few pregnancy leaves. It's that time of the year. Child rearing. There's an in-school suspension teacher, Mary Cordair. Personnel being hired to replace a few of the teachers. G is a transfer. H is that is again the same student that we have the job coach that we had last year. All right, this year we're just splitting it between 2 people because Ben Isabella can't do it. So just to give you a little background in that. The next 3 or 4 pages of professional development, which brings us to page 11. And there's an addition on J for the substitutes. There's 5 additions. And there's also K, L, and M to be added on that. There's a resignation. There's also and 2 pregnancy leaves. That's K, L, and M. They're coming in fast and furious. Any questions with Section 4?
I'm sorry, go ahead.
On item H, the job coach, that's for the same students?
Correct.
Okay, and on item E with Mary Codell, the in-school suspension
Yes.
at the middle school, we haven't been doing it like this past year or even last year at the middle?
I don't think we did it last year in the middle school. They sort of had a makeshift kind of in-school suspension, but now they're really deciding to put forth, and I had asked them, bring somebody. Mary Cordair is a great person to do it because she's an ex-teacher at the middle school. So I know she'll run that program very, very well.
Right, and is that for like 3 days a week? Because I know
It could be 2, could be 3. It depends on how many students they have that are going to go into that.
And what's at the high school? Is that 5 days?
High schools, it could be in certain weeks, 5
As
days a
many as
week.
5? Okay.
Yeah, because we have 2 people actually doing the high school. We get some steady customers in the high school.
Thank you.
Any questions? Moving on, Section 6. Oh, I just have to say in A, you can't imagine the amount of work that the supervisors, the teachers, and Ms. Bauman are doing. I mean, just look at this. There's at least 12 curriculums sitting right here that we approved, and I think there's 4 or 5 more for the next meeting. We probably approved how many? I'll let Ms. Bauman I think we are almost up to about 25, 27?
We have 35 that were listed to be written, and we have approved with the group that will be coming up in December 27th. So we're moving along very rapidly this year, and I'm very happy with that. And all of the credit goes to the teachers who are writing this and the supervisors who are working very hard on that. And they have been turning out some great curriculum. That's a great, I enjoy reading the really good ones, and I have to give them all my marks.
As far as A is concerned, there was 1 correction. Both phys eds are grade 9. One is a 1S and a 2S.
Dr. Alfano?
Yes, sir.
On curriculum, like you've said here, that's been written within our district, has there been any comparison done or coordination done with other schools within Middlesex County to try to devise a curriculum
It's
That
funny
would
you would
be-
mention that.
That would be like, I'll be very honest with you, you know, one of the things that, not only as a board member, but as a taxpayer, what I like to see is like, there's 25 school systems in Middlesex County. There should be one curriculum for the 25 school systems within Middlesex County.
Well, I'm not going to answer for Ms. Ballin, but I will say we are constantly collaborating with most of the districts, especially Monroe. And I know Ms. Sutherland meets consistently with a curriculum committee that meets, I would say it's at least once a month. And it's county, we do share a tremendous amount of information with Monroe, especially because their curriculum is very, very similar to ours. And matter of fact, a lot of the mapping that we're doing right now is we're collaborating with them. And the nice thing is that when we're going through monitoring, remember, we're going through monitoring in what is it, 3 weeks, December 9th. And a lot of the stuff that we're doing, Dr. Pagari was saying, why don't you go in and see what Sayreville is doing and emulate what they're doing. Look at their guides. Let's see what they're using as a template. Ms. Bowman?
If you ever have the opportunity to look online for some districts, you'd be shocked at the quality of what you see compared to what we do here. Monroe is very similar. They have a wonderful curriculum component, but I'm telling you, Sayreville is outstanding, and if you look at some of these other districts, I think you will be very proud of what we do here. And I've been looking at different ones that are coming up for monitoring, and they remind me of the old curriculum we had 20 years ago, the way they're written, not like what we're doing today.
One other question, Dr. Alfano, on their curriculum. Mrs. Baumann, when you do the curriculum, are you comparing using the same textbooks as, say, well, you're using Monroe as an example, do you? Monroe, or there's a different textbook?
Every district decides what textbooks they're going to use, and ours may not correspond to any in Monroe or anywhere else. And I think that's one of the issues about writing curriculum. There's no mandate that everyone uses the same, program of study or the books or any of that. So that becomes an issue when you're writing curriculum.
But again, Dr. Larry, if I messed up his name, and like you said, we're doing such an outstanding job. Maybe with the textbooks that we use, we can influence other districts to use the same type of textbooks.
But textbooks are only part of your curriculum. What you have to look at is when you read a curriculum, it's not based on the textbook. The textbook is what you use to support the skills, the objectives, and strategies in the curriculum.
Correct.
And that's only that you never use the textbook to drive the curriculum. So in many cases, you can use different textbooks because you're teaching lessons that are generic enough with the objectives and strategies that multiple books could be used. So never think that it never drives the curriculum. The curriculum has to be the bones and it has to be the body. That's only a support system for you.
Thank you.
B is the kindergarten registrant. I won't even try to pronounce that name. C is the Middlesex Regional Educational Commission. We are moving the collaborative to the Sam Sullivan Elementary School. And there still will be students in the school at Slover. There'll be our preschool through the adult school. So we'll continue to run a small preschool within it. And the reason we're doing that, I gave you many different reasons, but the major reason is the least restrictive environment. Then they're going to get a much better education. They're going to be much more protected in that environment.
How many students are we talking about in that movie?
In the collaborative right now, 11.
Do they all say that?
Yes.
They're all children. They just want to be collaborative. Which next year we were going to make the move anyway, and they're going to be ours. We're going to no longer be using Middlesex Regional. We're going to do it ourselves.
Is there space now to
Yes.
expand the preschool?
Yes.
Is there plans to do that?
Yes. We're continuing to do that. Ed Aguilas, Mr. Aguilas has made room, and we are going to continue to grow as much as we can. We're looking to maybe expand the program that I'm looking forward to, which is the choir is going to have a dinner and a sort of like a a singing situation where I came in, it's sort of like a medieval kind of thing, and I thought it was a good thing to December 4th and 5th. They're going to run it from 2 to 9 p.m. So they're running like a dinner show, which since when I came in here to see the show the other night, or before the football game, I said this would be a great idea to run a show. And James Kraft walked over and he said, "Oh, it's funny you would say that because we are having one on December 4th and 5th. And by the way, I just want to congratulate everybody with the play. It really worked well, very, very well that night. And I didn't think it would work too great in this room, but it really, under the circumstances, it really was nice. And it was cozy. It was small, it was quaint, and it was really well run. Dr. P did it.
Theater and 3/4.
Theater and 3/4. But Dr. P always does a great job. And I want to just congratulate him publicly. Saturday, the step team, the 27th, has a fundraiser, and there's a few coaching assignments. Unpaid coaching assignments is G. There's an awards banquet for the girls soccer team, and Add I, which is on the addendum, which is another fundraiser from January 22nd to 24th through the girls softball team.
Mr. Sack, would you like to represent the board at that? Because I know on December 6th, I have a community service event I'm obligated to.
That's fine.
Any questions with section 7? With none, moving to 8, support services. There's transportation waiver, some contracts, 14 trips. There's a few changes, 12 and 13. The dates have been changed from the 11th to the 10th and from the 13th to the 12th. That's on numbers 12 and 13. There's a Platinum Sound Step Squad competition that are listed. If you look at F, I think this is a great activity. Run through the Samsel Upper Elementary School where they're going to visit a bunch of places within Saraville, especially the Historical Society, and they're going to go in days. Now, I know Ms. Brady put that together, and it was not an easy thing to put together. I think it's something very good. They always really try to push us to go to the historical societies and the many of the things that are great about Saraville, and we're doing a lot of those different things. And then G and H is the junior prom and the senior prom. That's the busing for those two events. That concludes my report. Mr. McEnroe.
Thank you. Any questions from the board or comments before I open up to the public on the agenda items?
I have a question. It was about the play, since you brought it up. Why, what's the story with the auditorium? Why don't we have a CO? You know how long that's going to be?
Part of the reason that I believe we're held up in the auditorium is waiting for the front entrance. I believe the number of people that would be in that auditorium, we don't have the proper egress at this point in time.
Okay. At this time, I'd like to open up to the public for anything that's on the agenda. If any questions, comments, please keep in mind that it will open up again for the public for anything that may become before the board. Just now, any questions or comments about the agenda? If not, I'll accept the board motion to file the superintendent's report. So any second? Roll call starting first. Mr. Clark and then Mr. Limbo.
Mrs. Backup,
Yes.
Mr. Bashada,
Yes.
Mr. Syak,
Yes.
Mr. Clark,
Yes.
Mrs. Esposito,
Yes.
Mr. Lembo,
Yes.
Mrs. Pratt,
Yes.
and Mr. McEnroe.
Yes. On the background information, the saga continues about moving the poles from our elementary schools. Ms. Bacco, do you have any update? Okay, we're working right now with the Borough Council to get them on board. My intention is on the December 3rd Board of Elections meeting in New Brunswick. I want to attend with the President of the Council as one united, Sayable front to make this happen. The council is going through some motions right now, and hopefully they will come to some resolution of the next council meeting. That's where we are right now. But there's still the intention of the board to relocate the poles from our elementary schools, and I feel very confident that that's what we should do after seeing what was going on election day, the traffic and parking and everything else. So we will continue that. Another thing I wanted to mention, if you recall, I mentioned about 8 months ago that I was working with Councilman Heisman and Mr. Bertrand from the borough, trying to get a surplus police vehicle donated to the district for our security people within the high school to use so they can monitor the perimeter of the school during the morning hours, during lunchtime, and during after hours. And I'm happy to report that on last council meeting, they adopted an ordinance that surplus police vehicles will be given to the first aid squad and the Board of Education. So we're hoping to get one of those vehicles so that we can enhance our security monitoring outside the building. That's all I have. Anybody else? Any background information? If not, Mr. Clark.
As a follow-up to the district highlights with our band placing second in the state, the week after I went to Allentown with the band to represent the Northeast, and our band took second place in the whole Northeast, and the color guard took first place there too. So
First place. Wow.
great job.
Northeast.
Yep.
Outstanding.
A band from Massachusetts, and our cerebral band posted one of the highest scores ever for a cerebral band.
So color guard placed first.
First in the Northeast, and the band was second.
If we can recognize that, Dr. Alfano, at a future meeting, color guard, we can have them come to the board meeting and be recognized. Because I know that they do a lot of work. They don't get a lot of credit. We'd like to recognize them publicly. Now, anything on the New Jersey School Board Association front?
Yes, this Saturday is our semi-annual delegate assembly where all Board of Educations from New Jersey will meet and vote on certain resolutions. There's one resolution that's posted that I handed out earlier. It's pretty much a simple one. It's part of the policy statement. There is prospective national core standards. As you'll know, we already have New Jersey state standards. There is much push to go to a national standard for curriculum. So NJSBA feels that we have to have policy that includes national standards. What they want to do is make sure that if they do, the federal government does impose national standards on us, that they include full funding for it, and also that any standards allows local control, which we do now, but they want to make sure that the federal government doesn't say you have to have this standard. So it's a pretty easy no-brainer, and I'll be voting in the affirmative if it's okay with the board.
Represent us well. Anybody have any objection to that?
Mr. Pacino?
Yes, Mr. Bishop.
Mr. Clark, as delegate, I would ask you to go on Saturday, I believe it's what, Hamilton Township or
Princeton.
Princeton. Evidently, there's a lot of legislation that's in the pipeline in this lame duck Assembly and Senate thing until January 20th, I believe it is, or 19th. I would ask that you, as a delegate from our board, speak and ask that the New Jersey School Board Association email or notify each district of pending legislation that can affect costs to the district. You know what I'm referring to.
Absolutely, and it's interesting you mentioned that right after the delegate assembly, there's going to be New Jersey Network is going to moderate with the President of the Senate and some other assembly people on an exact same topic. They're going to discuss all of the lame duck bills that would affect education, and it's going to be moderated by New Jersey Network. So they're actually going to get into exactly what you're talking about. And Marie Billick, the executive director of New Jersey School Boards, already wrote a letter to Governor-elect Christie stating that we're going to be watching what gets passed between now and the beginning of January.
Well, the reason I ask this is because maybe as a board, before this does come up before a vote, that we'll be notified, and we can either send a resolution or notify the public to call their local state senator or assemblyman and let them know that we are yay or nay against this proposal.
We have a very close friend right on the board who is the past president of New Jersey School Boards, who I'm sure can instantly grab the executive director's ear to get that done.
Actually, every board member, if you're interested, can go onto the website, www.njsba.org, and you can sign up, and actually any member of the public can do this as well. You can sign up to become, it's called an EAGLE, an Educational Advocate Grassroots Legislative Effort Member, and they will email you exactly what's going on, and when you should contact your legislator, and there's even a weekly update that gives you, what's going on in the legislature and with the Department of Education. So just look for the Eagle. You want to soar with the Eagles.
Very nice.
And there's a lot of crazy bills out there.
Yes, there are.
Okay. Under discussion, there's a couple items. Extension of the high school classroom trailer lease, Mr. Van.
At this point in time, the board has only directed and approved the extension of the trailer lease through the end of December. I'm just asking, I know that the request is coming from the high school principal to allow the trailers to stay until the end of the construction project.
Which is what I think the Construction Oversight Committee had agreed on.
Right, but the board only approved through December.
So it's a recommendation that we keep those trailers so Mr. Brown has that flexibility throughout the duration of the construction.
What's wrong with that?
Anybody have any issue with that?
When would that be, February?
March.
Well,
No, it would be through the end of March,
Right.
because
You got to transition in.
you got to transition in and you have to take them down, so they would look for the trailers through the end of March.
I know, Ms. Bacco, you have a big interest of getting those trailers out of your driving.
I think the trailers are a big safety hazard in the parking lot.
Pretty soon.
That's
it's
why I
like-
don't like
For people that drive big SUVs and take their kids.
Is the move still on to get them into the A-wing? Thanksgiving?
Yes.
Yeah.
Everything right now is scheduled to be taking place during the Thanksgiving break, hopefully on November 30th. We'll be renovating the western side of the building.
Mr. Sayak and I were in the building the other day for a meeting, and we walked around, and on the A-wing, we were extremely surprised at the progress of it. Ceilings all buttoned up. We went in the bathrooms on the A-wing, both upstairs and downstairs. Mr. Bashad, I recommend you go in there, because you remember what that looked like when the hole was in the floor and all the cement, and it's quite a really well ahead of schedule, I think, on that aspect.
That's Gibson that's in charge of that?
Yeah, the performance, right.
And that will be done for,
Yes.
Already done.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're already done, we just gotta move the kids.
Yeah.
And what's slated to be done on the other side?
Same thing.
Same thing, wiring upgrade, the bathrooms,
Upgrade,
by the gym.
electrical upgrades, the 4 bathrooms.
What the problem is in A-wing, what we've done in education is we have computers in every classroom now, we have computer labs, we need smart boards in there, but we need to update our electrical infrastructure to provide all the power, and that's one of the main things I think that is going on in the second part of the A-wing. Okay, energy conservation referendum.
Okay, a number of board members attended a symposium while we were at our New Jersey School Board's conference. It's also a recommendation of the Buildings and Grounds Committee that the board look at the possibility of doing an energy conservation referendum. It's kind of interesting how things fall into place. The committee met on that Monday of that week, I believe. They thought of the idea of moving forward. On Wednesday, I happened to be speaking to an architect on the conference floor who I happen to know, and he was giving me a lot of insight into work they've done in another township, whereby they not only included energy conservation, they replaced roofs, windows, heating systems, and things of that nature. Thursday morning, we attended a symposium, and sure enough, our bond council is presenting information about energy conservation, and the information she was presenting was the architect that I was speaking to on Wednesday on the conference floor. I had the opportunity, he happened to be in the audience of the symposium, and I was able to have some board members speak directly to him and really get insight, and I then believe some board members actually went to see either him or his partner on the conference floor and was continually speaking with them about this process. And basically what we're looking for tonight is, number one, is there a desire by the board to seek the possibility of moving forward with an energy conservation referendum? And if the answer to that is yes, to move forward with basically a feasibility study, and then you would have to hire an architect and your consultants to move ahead and do a complete feasibility study to come back to the board at a later point in time and make their recommendations as to if it's feasible to move ahead with those things. And a lot of the things they start looking at is your energy usage, are your buildings and roofs capable of handling solar power? Because not every roof can handle it because of the weight. What other mechanisms can be incorporated to bring you energy savings? And I know the part that I found most interesting is the information that was being presented by our bonds attorney at this symposium. The district actually went out with an energy conservation plan at no impact to the taxpayers. And they upgraded their district infrastructure and energy conservation with no tax impact. And it was all generated from the savings. So it's more or less a twofold question, and I leave it to Pat, Tom, who really addressed that committee meeting when we spoke about it, and I know Pat had extensive conversations with the one architect on this, and then talk about, if the board is interested, the procedures that I like to put forward to get this moving, because at the symposium, they said even if you started today, the likelihood of going out for a referendum wouldn't be until next September, possibly December. So it's a year of planning, folks. So there's a lot of things that have to go on.
This is a direction I'd really like to see the board going. After speaking to these architects, it really all hinges on using an architect, a firm that has good experience in this, and the possibilities are tremendous here in using the revenue from your solar energy to fund other capital projects that we would otherwise never be able to fund out of our general budget. I mean, we have so many energy issues as far as unit ventilators, windows, doors, heating controls. To fund it out of our regular budget, we'd be chipping away at it little by little, and you really end up falling behind as more things deteriorate. But using the solar energy to help really pay for these capital projects is really the way to go. And again, the key is, as Emilio said, using a firm that has experience in this, that's done it. And we've talked to a couple already, and it's very possible to do this with very little or no impact to the taxpayer.
And I believe in December, the last round of referendum,
September.
There were 25 of them that went out. 19 of them passed, and almost every one of them had some type of solar or energy conservation mechanism attached to that referendum that did pass.
The ones that went out for solar will pass. I mean, it's a long-term savings to the taxpayer. I mean, I really see this as...
What's the typical electrical bill for this building before we added the addition? I remember seeing bills $50,000, $60,000 a month.
I can tell you, we're working on next year's budget. District-wide, I have $2 million in the budget for gas and electric. And we're hoping we're on target. But I can tell you, this building alone, electrical is generating close to $37,000 a month in electric.
And we're conserving tonight, by the way.
If we could turn the air conditioning off, we could probably drive that down a little bit.
Trust me, I'll be speaking to Mr. Pence.
Oh, yeah.
If you look at the bills list, in there, it did have a cost for November, I believe. It has from Jersey Central Power and Light. It had the cost of JCP and I think it was around $20-some thousand.
Almost $30,000, yeah.
And that's without having the air conditioning units on yet. And
No, that's with things running. But you have to got to be careful. There are each part of our bill has two separate parts. It's someone who transports it and someone who provides it.
Correct.
Which is
You
like
don't
home
want to
bills.
look at one.
Yeah.
One of the other things for the public to realize is that there's a school district called Tom's River. Last year, they received $1.5 million back from the power utility for excessive energy that they didn't use within the district. And as a reward for that, our federal government gave them $6 million in stimulus money. And that's a fact. That was on NJN News earlier this year. And the idea behind the solar, Governor Corzine mandated by 2010 there were supposed to be so many windmills, so much solar, and we're not even close to it right now. The benefit to solar and retrieving or recouping money is the fact that, as Mr. Andrea mentioned, Mr. Lembo mentioned, that we can use some of the money to improve our facilities. Just at Arleth right now, in the old section of Arleth, to replace the ventilators in there right now, I think is around $960-some thousand for 25 units that have to be replaced. But when you replace that, you have to replace some windows and things like that. So it's a very costly experience. And you know, you're looking at $1 million of just one capital improvement. Truman needs windows. You have roofs that at the middle school over the library that they have a drum and a closet to stop the water leaks. And I mean, you know, for years and years and years, a lot of, with budgets failing and other issues, capital improvements haven't been made, and we have to start doing it. We have to take back our schools as far as the maintenance is concerned and improve them and make them up to standard.
So am I hearing from the board that with the direction we want to go is to start a preliminary investigation of
Okay, then the next part of it is, I'd like to make the recommendation. I can leave it as open-ended or leave it with the buildings and grounds. I'd like to bring in at least 3 Rubino of the firm that actually spoke to the board down at the conference and who was successful in working with Lacey Township to go out with zero impact. I also like to recommend the presenters of the symposium, and forgive me, I don't remember, Parenti and Associates, and obviously I'd like to also give the opportunity to our current architects and engineers, Land Associates, to bring the three of them in, schedule a night, be it the full board or a committee, to do a presentation on what they can provide as far as their services and their experience in providing a feasibility study for an energy referendum.
Mr. Bishara, what is your recommendation?
I would recommend,
Buildings and grounds, or?
I would recommend that the whole board be present for this presentation, because as a board, we have to make a decision. I think the committee idea sounds fine, but I think an issue of this importance, 9 members should be
Anybody have
present.
issue with that?
If we could do it December 1st, I think that'd be great to move it forward.
I really like to leave it on a night that the board is not meeting. I'd rather have, if you're bringing in 3 architects, I'm going to tell you, they're going to come in with bells and whistles. You're not going to see, you're not looking at it 10 minutes. You're needing several hours to sit and listen, because these guys are ready to start wowing districts with
Could
what
we
they're
do it
doing.
between the 1st and the 15th? We do the meeting on the special meeting on the 8th, we have enough time to advertise that?
I have plenty of time, yes. And
The 8th?
December 8th is the UES Parent Teacher Conferences, if that matters.
No, I don't think that.
I'll shoot for 12/8.
Mr. Clark?
This type of endeavor is highly specialized, so I really want to make sure that we get someone with a proven track record, because this is,
Well, that's
we're talking
these-
about structural, we're
Right.
talking about some really crazy roofing
Right, and
designs
that's,
and loads.
I mean, we have the two that the presenters at the symposium said they've done it. Again, DeCara Rubino, who happened to be in the audience, and our bound council actually used their thing, and I always would want to offer it to our current architects and engineers to do a presentation.
And
So-
we also didn't mention that currently the state is funding, what was 40%?
And it all qualifies for 40% funding.
Mr. DeAndrea, what are we going to, how are you going to schedule the 3, 6, 7, and 8?
At this point in time, that was going to be my next question. What time
Is that when you want to do like 6, 7, and 8, and then we'll come in and have something to eat before?
December
We have to eat, fellas, we have to eat.
6, 7,
I
8.
would-
6, 7, and 8, because I figure this way we have for this.
I'll reach out to all 3, because I can tell you 2 of them have already contacted me and are really anxious to get it.
Is this going to be just advertised as an architect meeting and that's it?
I'm not going to do any.
No action.
That's it,
No
no
action.
business, but
I'll advertise it as no action to be taken.
And then we have a meeting on the 1st, meeting on the 15th.
Right.
Don't forget, for people that were not in the room, we also have a holiday party on the 22nd. So we're gonna be the 1st, the 8th, the 15th, and the 22nd. The holiday party.
Public service.
Yeah, we'll figure out where we're going on the 22nd.
And they also have an invite for the 7th.
Just let the,
And you have an invite for the 7th.
just let the architects know, to come in here and give us, I don't want to do a pony show. Okay? The board is kind of.
You're going to get another funny show.
I'm going to tell you, I'll tell them to do a good professional
Yeah,
presentation.
cut to the chase. All right.
Yeah, the bottom line is they say they got no more than 45 minutes, because they'll go on for 6 hours. Just like you.
Tell them they have 3 presentations. All right, any other talk about this? If not, I have one other item here on the discussion. If you're a Sayable resident, this will make you angry. It has me. I have a 6-page law that was enacted by Governor Corzine in the Assembly on July 2nd, 2009. And this is something that was done very quietly, and then the way we found out about it was through New Jersey Planners Association. I sit on the planning board here in town. And I had mentioned this at one meeting before, now it's raised its head. Basically, what this law has said, we have developers, and impact Sayable big time, throughout the state that have developed age-restricted communities. And then when the economy started to go south, the developers realized that the senior population, 55 and over, were not going out and spending $300,000-400,000 on these residents, and now they had a bunch of product that they would not be able to move. So they went and they went to Trent as a special interest, the lobbyists as they are, and they convinced the governor that to take these age-restricted homes and allow them to convert them to no age restriction. Okay, and the rationale, which is just totally amazes me, and is my argument against legislators being lawyers, is it's a converted development. And the justification is that they're doing this because the state of New Jersey has a lack of affordable housing for what they call people that make vital contributions to their communities. And they list teachers, nurses, police officers, firefighters, and the general workforce population that can't afford houses. So allowing developers to do this will open up more houses for these kinds of people, and that's their rationale for doing it. How this impacts Sayville, if you're aware of what's going on in Sayville, there are several age-restricted developments going on. You have Spinnaker Point down Hurston Road. You have the one that crossed from the Morgan Firehouse on 35. But more importantly, Town Lake. If you're familiar with Town Lake, when you enter Town Lake from the Washington roadside, that is Town Lake proper. If you go in from the Main Street side and you make a right, that's Town Lake West that they're building. The third component of Town Lake is Heritage at Town Lake, which was age-restricted, about 140, 150 homes. The developer there, Mr. Kaplan, who has already filed a petition with the Sayville Planning Board to come to an application to convert those units to no age restriction, which means if you have 150 homes, 3 and 4 bedroom that he's going to convert them to, you're looking at children, again, that's going to impact the school district, which was not in the Sayville Borough's master plan when we spec'd out developments. And the law is very specific. The law doesn't give the planning board much leeway. It says that you must approve it if it meets the following requirements, and a list of requirements, all which Town Lake has met. It is an application that's already been approved by the town, and so on and so forth. And Mr. Kaplan, who's already brought lawsuits to the town over Lemire and has won, does his homework and has already subpoenaed board minutes and things from the planning board on this. So this is coming to our town. And I don't know when, and I will try to publicize it when this application will come before the planning board, but it's going to be a fight. And this is something, and I'm hoping the Town Lake is the only development that this is going to impact us. But this is great. This is the kind of things that drive school board members nuts. When you see these types of things and you budget, and all of a sudden now you're looking at this increase. And also, you realize that National Lead is going to be developed with 2,000 homes. 2,000, which currently right now, they made up a new term. It's called age targeted. Not age restricted, it's age targeted. I don't know what that means, but they're going to target certain ages, and they're trying to say that how they build it, they're going to discourage people from buying it that have kids, but not prohibiting people from buying it that have kids. So this is what we're dealing with, and this is what we have to look at. That's why I think it's good to have a school board member on the planning board, because those things affect what we're trying to do here. So I just thought I'd bring that to you, but this is happening.
Mr. McEnon, has anybody from the planners, as you call it, contacted our elected governor about this proposed or this enacted law that maybe there is a course of action to do such as an emergency?
Well, the Planning Board Association is rallying in some type of resolution and that to say, well, Planning Board is jumping on to protest this. Now, one good thing is we have a new governor that may look at this a little differently because he has articulated during a campaign about, Mount Laurel decisions and all those types of things. This may be overturned. But in the meantime, I know there's an application on schedule, and I think it's going to be the first meeting of the new year that I'm going to come to try to get these. And I'll tell you, the way the land use law works in New Jersey, there's not much a planning board can do to deny it if it's in a residential zone and he's complying with the law. And that's how we got litigation against us with Lemire, because we disapproved certain things, and other developments in town that had brought litigation to us. So just let you know what's going on. So.
I have one other thing, if you're finished with that. I participated in a legislators' day, and it was very interesting. I explained about elections and voting at 18. I asked them about the food. The students are happy to have hot lunches right now. And I had several students approach me with uniforms. There's actually students in our high school that are looking at uniforms because they said that they're tired of competing with one another with some outfits that are $200–300. It's not a fashion show in high school anymore. They'd rather go with the uniform and, whatever, how many outfits you have to have for, for a week or whatever. But they had several students brought this up, and I mentioned that I would bring it up at our next board meeting about.
Ms. Nowicki, how do you feel about that?
I think she said she went home and done my homework.
I personally don't mind the uniforms. I don't think that it would be a big deal if we had to wear them, but it is a public school. And I don't think that kids at public school should have to wear uniforms.
And there's also a pretty big cost involved, isn't it, from the board for being reduced?
There's also some legal requirements too, based on,
I like uniforms. Having a product, being a product of parochial school all my life, and then being in the military for 20 years, I like uniforms.
well, that's numerous times.
Okay, well, that's, I'm not going there, because when we enacted the dress code, I had the whole field hockey team throw flip-flops at me, so I'm not touching that. You go for it, Mr. Michelle. If there's any other discussion from the board, I'd like to open up the public for anything that may come before the board, any comments, questions, concerns. The room is started, the room is stopped, anything? Please come before the microphone, please state your name and address for the record. If you don't want to be videotaped, please let these young men know. Mrs. Bloom.
Lucy Bloom, President of the SCA. Just two things. The legislation part, NJA also has a website. We get correspondence on all new legislation, anything that we need to contact our representatives about, and they make it real easy. There's a letter right there. You click right there and you copy the letter. My name is memorized in that little program, and all I have to do is click it and send. So we get to do that all the time. So that's one good thing that is happening, just as your school board site does. So NJEA has that for all of the members of NJEA. The other question I had for you, Mr. McEnroe, was the surplus police vehicle. Now, did you say one of our security people is going to be driving that car?
If they're a licensed driver.
Okay, but
Yes.
so that means we're going to have one less security person inside the
No,
building?
that's not, I'm going to let Mr. Brown and the administration figure out how they want to utilize that. I imagine that would be used at specific times. And one of the reasons that really, I visited the folks, the residents on Eric Court and School Drive that confront the school, butt up against the school's property. They had some issues about kids loitering and trash and all those kinds of things, and security guards would have to walk out there. I just think on key times, if that car was manned, or was present, during fire drills, stopping the lanes of traffic, whatever, it's a resource to use. If it stays parked, it stays parked. It doesn't cost us any money. But it's not, our intention is not to take a security guard out of the school for any length of time, but to be there to use as a resource if they need to be building evacuations, they have a vehicle, that's all.
Okay, that was just my question.
That's not something, that's an operational thing that Mr. Brown will have to deal with.
We've almost doubled our area here, and we're still working with 3 guards, and I know we had one that was pulled from the budget.
And one positive thing that I mention every time I've been in the school, and you can pass that to your association, I've been to the school a number of times for legislature day and other things that I was invited in here for, and I've always seen teachers on their posts in the hallways at the intersections. And that's one thing, being in a high school, I don't see where I work, but I always see it here in Salem, so that's a
Well,
good thing.
whenever we can, we're in the doorway. But also, just something that occurred this morning, I was in the office with Mr. Leonardo, and he was trying to get one of the security guards. And I know we had a long discussion here at these meetings about that repeater that they were going to need to help their walkie-talkies reach all ends of this building, and he could not get through because the repeater was also cut from the budget. They never got the repeater that they needed to make those walkie-talkies.
Mr. Clark, it's in this budget. It's in the old
Okay.
10-11, it's in the 10-11 budget.
Okay. Okay, but right now, again, they're working without it, and we've got 3 security guards, and this building has doubled in its size, so.
There's 2 issues. The construction really messed the signal going up across. So we hooked up to a repeater on Bordentown Avenue that the fire and police use. So it was working. There was some problems with the repeater up there, so it was down for a few days. But the construction is still affecting the communications, and that should be fixed real soon.
Okay, well,
Once they open
hopefully,
it up,
That's something that we feel is necessary.
yeah, absolutely, I agree with that. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else in the public like to speak? No once, going twice. I'll take a motion for adjournment.
So, second.
Thank you for coming. Please, everybody have a very happy Thanksgiving, and hopefully we'll see you.